Hey everybody, welcome to 3 ways to do downward facing dog. I'm going to give you options if you struggle with sore hands and wrists, tight or injured shoulders, and tight hamstrings, hips, or low back. I'm Janine from Win With Yoga, fitness and flexibility expert for women over 50. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, just hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that you'll be notified anytime we post one of these awesome videos. All right, so let's jump right in. I'm going to give you 3 different options on how to do downward dog, and I'm going to explain how to adjust each option to suit hands and wrists that you might struggle with, tight shoulders, and again, tight hamstrings, hips, or low back. So this first version I'm going to show you is really taking downward facing dog and just making a few amendments to it without getting another prop. I'm going to show you how to use some things in your home or actually changing the pose. So first of all, whenever we're doing downward facing dog, you want to make sure that you're doing it on a firm surface. So a carpet or a squishy mat or out in the grass or at the beach, the surface is going to be wiggly, right? And so you're going to have to work that much harder through the hands to get those wrists straight. So especially for you folks that are struggling with wrists and shoulder stuff, you want to make sure you're on a really firm surface. Secondly, for every variation I'm going to give today, you want to be rooting your palms nice and flat. What I mean by that is one of the big pitfalls that tends to happen is when you do downward dog, you're going to feel more weight in the heel of the hand. And what we want to start to feel is even weight between the front part of the hand, so this space under the knuckles up through the fingers, and the heel of the hand, so this is even. So if you're doing downward facing dog, palms flat, that might cure it up for you, especially for hands and wrist stuff. You come up this way. Now, the other things you can do for hands and wrists is that you can turn the hands out slightly. So think about a 45-degree angle either way, not all the way sideways, but 45 degrees, you can turn those out, and that'll just change the angle of the wrist and possibly give you some relief. This also may help you folks who you get pinchiness up here in the shoulders or up in the traps when you do downward facing dog, or you struggle with getting the shoulders back towards your legs and getting this line here from your wrists up towards your ribs that's straight. So widen the hands a little bit. That's going to help the shoulders. Turn the hands out slightly, and remember, we're always rooting with that wide, flat palm. When we don't have the palm wide and flat, that's where we get a lot of weight into the wrist. So wide, flat palms. You can take them out a little wider to help with that shoulder pinchiness. You can also let the shoulders shift forward a little bit. It's fine if you're not all the way to the straight line where I am right now. You can let them shift forward a little bit. And then the third thing for the tight hamstrings, hips, and low back, which also is going to end up helping for the wrists, as I'll show you, is if you're tight back there, simply bend your knees. Now I know I've heard that a lot of folks think, oh, I can bend my knees in down dog. Absolutely. It's not going to be doing it wrong. It's actually going to be a really smart way for you to start to approach it so that you can get your shoulders in alignment, your wrists in alignment, your back in alignment, and then you can work that flexibility through your calves, your hamstrings, your hips, and low back over time. So this is what it would look like. So let's say I did a version where I'm going to turn my hands out slightly. I'm going to put them a little wider than my shoulders. Now I'm all set there. Now when I come up to down dog, instead of straightening my legs, I'm just going to bend them, and then I can press with my hands away from what's in front of me, and you can see how my rear end is trying to reach back and up. So when we're tight in the legs and we straighten them, you can see how my back starts to round, and look what else happens. I straighten my legs, and look where my weight goes. It starts to bring way more weight up into the upper body. So it's pushing you forwards. So for some of you guys who are struggling with the pressure and the load in the upper body and the shoulders and the hands and the wrists, the bending the knees might also help you to start to get that weight back into the legs as well. So not only will this be beneficial for you guys who need that bend for tight hamstrings and hips and low back, it can help with the upper body struggle because you bend the knees and you're able to start to drive your rear end back and up, so you're getting that long spine from your back of your head all the way to your tailbone. So there you go. Regular downward facing dog, no big modifications needed. Bend the knees, adjust the hands to where you need. Maybe you need to turn them out a little bit. Maybe you need to make them a little bit wider for those shoulders, or get the angle in the wrist. So again, play around with this to see what works best for you. If you end up with a question, just drop it in the comments and I'm here to help. Okay, version number 2, and I'm gonna recommend this one if the hands bother you or the wrists get tired, but you're pretty good in the lower body. You're able to get that booty back and up pretty good, and you're all right in the shoulders. And that would be to put your forearms down on the ground. So now we take that wrist and hand component. However, when you go up here, so here we are, basically this is called dolphin, but it's a great modification for downward dog. However, if you're tight in your shoulders and you're tight in the hamstrings and through the hips, this version might be more challenging. You could still bend the knees here, but if those shoulders are real tight and you have trouble kind of moving the shoulders and the hips back and up, you may want to stick with version 1. But if you've got that mobility there, then forearms down can be a great option, and it's going to take that wrist component out of it for you. And if not, if that doesn't work and the first one didn't work, well, I have a third option for you. And that's going to be to take the level of the hands and raise them up. What do I mean by that? Well, in downward dog, the hands are on the floor. We're simply going to take a prop like a step stool and put our hands on it. So now our hands are up, and now we've got a little more slack here and a little less load in the upper body. So what that means is we can practice spreading those palms and rooting them into this surface without so much weight coming forward. Now I can work on the shoulder mobility here and strength. I can work on strengthening my hands and wrists without so much pressure. And I can bend my knees even here and raise that tailbone up. So you see how I'm starting to get this nice angle here, and my tailbone's going up, and now you can see my spine is nice and long. So you apply all those things you would do in a regular downward dog and just take them up. Now my step stool is a little narrow, so my hands would be narrow. If you can get a wider step stool, then your hands are wider, and I do go over this in another video that's specifically for the wrists, and I give lots of options, so you may want to check that one out as well. So you can either have 2 step stools, a wider step stool, or if that's not high enough, you can just simply use a chair. Now my chair has wheels, so I would want to put this against a wall or lock my wheels down so this isn't going to go flying, right? So we want safety first. But I'm going to show you on here as I can modify this. You'd simply put your hands on the seat of your chair. Now you root your palms. You can see the angle of the wrist is nice and long. I still can work towards my shoulder mobility here and strength. And then again, I can bend my knees a little and raise my tailbone up, and that's where you're going to start to feel this stretch here. It's also going to open all through the glutes and hips, and then allow you to start to get this length in the low back so you're not rounded up here. So here you go. You could take it up. Every step up I go, I'm going to lessen intensity. So if I want to make it a little bit easier, I can go on the back of my chair. I could go on my bed. I could do it on the back of a couch. The whole way I came around to this one was my mom, who's in her 70s. She has a lot of arthritis in her hands and wrists, and she said, you know, Janine, I've been doing it like this. And she put her hands onto her bed, and she moved her hips back. Is this okay? This is a great option. Now here you can sway your hips. You can bend one knee and straighten the other. So you can still do some of these movements you hear being cued in downward facing dog, even if you've made your own version for it. So you can start where you are and work from there. All right, and then over time, what I love about it is you can start to go from the back of the chair to the seat of the chair to the step stool. So you're working your intensity and increasing, and then eventually get down to the ground so that you're doing the full version, and you can do that over time with works for you. All right, so there you go. 3 ways to do downward facing dog with all those options to adjust for your wrists, your hands, your shoulders, and then for that tightness that you might be experiencing through the low back, the hamstrings, the calves, the hips. And I just want to repeat one more time. It is fine to bend your knees in downward facing dog. You're not doing it wrong. You're actually doing it intelligently and starting where your body is, and you can work towards straightening the legs over time, and you're just going to still keep that nice long spine and start to really support yourself through the upper body. All right, now if you enjoyed this video, again, make sure to like, subscribe, work with these, figure out what works best for you. And again, let me know in the comments which one of these works best for you, or if you have a question, I would love to know. I answer all the comments. Lastly, if you would like to put this version and start to use these kinds of amendments that work for your body and your needs, go ahead and check out our free fitness and flexibility video. It's only 10 minutes. It's going to be a whole body stretch for you, and that you can get at fitandflexibleforlife.com/class, and I will include that link in the description below. If you want some videos to complement this, like I mentioned before, for sore wrists, you can catch this video over here. And if you also want to complement it and put that downward dog into play, try 10-minute morning yoga for women over 50. We'll catch you back real soon. Thanks for watching.